Well, if it isn't me. Hello Quad Citizens, I'm Khalil Hacker and this is my excuse to wear shirts with buttons again. As you might know, in this show I talk about local businesses that mean something to me. And it's really important to discuss these things because we're living in some
trying times.
Last week we talked about my love or obsession with collecting movies, and this week we're going to talk about my love or toxic purchasing habits of collecting comic books.
Comic books.
I'm not sure if you knew this, but the Quad Cities has a plethora of comic shops to check out, and each one of them is unique in their own little way. Before we get into this, and it bugs me when I'm editing, if you see this, don't even worry about it. This is just my little maniac dog doing little maniac dog things.
I'm animated. I'm alive. My heart's big. It's got hot blood going through it fast. I like to eat. I like to fight too.
Local business spotlight theme song. Alright, so if we're talking comics, let's start at the very beginning. When I was a kid, I'd watch reruns of old 90s Marvel cartoons, and I just kind of got really hooked with the stories and the characters. From there, I discovered the Marvel Legends action figures, and they'd each come with a little comic book that had something to do with the character, and they'd be just like reprinted versions of really popular stories. I would collect so many of these action figures that I just had this huge stack of reprinted comic books that I would literally carry around with me everywhere I went. And before you ask, yes, carrying around a bunch of comic books in my backpack in middle school did really help with my popularity.
I am aware of the effect I have on women.
So with my love of everything Marvel, of course, I picked up Marvel Ultimate Alliance in 2006 when that came out. Dude, that was 14 years ago. And it was in Marvel Ultimate Alliance that I discovered my favorite character, probably still to this day.
Death? Oh yeah, she was a heck of a fine girl. But things just didn't work out between us. She was a little too clingy.
Friggin' Deadpool. 10-year-old me demanded to be brought to the closest comic shop so I could pick some things up and learn more about this guy. And that brings us to our first shop on this video. Superstars and Superheroes was the closest shop, and my god, what a great comic shop to be your first. Superstars and Superheroes is owned by a gentleman named Larry. And he is just a super chill dude, and he knows what he's doing. He's been around long enough to know exactly how to run a comic shop. It can be daunting in there because it's a massive collection, but all I had to do was mention Deadpool, and he knew exactly where to take me. I really do owe a lot to Larry and his store, because that's where my obsession with comic books was born. It's a perfect shop if you're looking for anything superhero. To this day, I'll still stop in to see if he has an old run of a story that I'm looking for. And most of the time, yes, he does have it. Plus, you have to check out his wall. He has some classics just available for purchase. I gawk at it every single time I'm in there. And since the shop is in Iowa and Iowa is technically open right now, you can still stop in, but please, if you do, take all of the regular precautions. And if you just call Larry, I'm sure he can find what you're looking for, have it ready for you, so you can just come in, do as little contact as possible, and get out. So since collecting that run of Deadpool, years went on, and you know, I entered my late teens and my parents were a little less keen on just buying me comics every month, so I kind of fell off for a little while. Then maybe like a year ago, Have Fun Collectibles, which sadly is now closed, was having a big sale, and that's where I picked up this guy. It's Watchmen #1. I'm not sure how much you know about Watchmen, but it's just one of the best series in the entire world. And that's when it dawned on me. I have money. I have a big boy job. I can totally buy comics again. So on Wednesdays, in the before times, I would work doubles over at Circa 21 in Rock Island. So one Wednesday between shifts, I decided to go check out Mellow Planet, which is a little comic shop that I had heard really good things about. And it's within walking distance of Circa, When I walked in, Tim, who is the owner of Mellow Blue Planet and one of the coolest guys I now have the pleasure of knowing, was beyond helpful. Leading up to that, I had really only read superhero comics growing up, but sometimes reading superhero things is a big commitment because there's a lot going on in the superhero universe. And I just wanted a smaller story that I didn't need years of backstory to understand. And that's when Tim introduced me to the world of indie comics. I had told him some genres that I really enjoy, and he had no problem hooking me up with some really good comics and sending me on my way. And some of the comics that he gave me that day are some of my favorite series that I've ever read. And after that, I'd stop by every single Wednesday between my 2 shifts, and luckily that coincides with Comic Book Wednesday. Every single Wednesday there's a whole batch of new comics that comes out. So if you're new to comics, Wednesday is kind of the day to pick up all of the brand spanking new stuff. If you're looking for anything from the indie comics or something new aside from superhero stuff, Mellow Blue Planet is the place to go. Though he does also have a wide selection of superhero things to look through as well. I swear it's like comic shop owners have a specifically organized brain. Every time I go into a comic shop, it like wows me how deep they know their catalog of comics. So if there's a comic that you've heard of that seems like it might be for you, don't be afraid to ask Tim to look for it because he'll be more than happy to, and I could almost promise you he'll find it. And if not, he's always happy to order it. Currently, Mellow Blue Planet offers curbside and shipping. Just give Tim a call or email. Tim is also allowing people to stop in and chat if you want to, but again, if you're going to go into a shop, please follow all of the guidelines. I understand some places are open, but please be safe and please keep these comic store owners safe. I don't really have a segue to talk about the next shop that I want to talk about, but I do want to talk about them here. So I guess this is what you get for giving me a show. No real structure, baby. The Tomic RAC is not only one of the best comic shops in the area, but it's just flat out one of the best businesses in the Quad Cities, period. Unfortunately, because they're a little out of the way for me, I've only stopped in there once, but that one time has really stuck with me. The Tomic RAC is owned by married couple James and Lee, and they are 2 of the kindest business owners I've ever met in my life. I came in because I saw on Facebook they had the first issue of one of my favorite series, Harrow County, just for sale and for a very reasonable price. And I came in to buy that one comic book, but ended up staying for like an hour and a half. I just pulled up a chair and looked through the back issue boxes as we shot the chat and talked comics for a while. Based on things that I liked, they came up with so many different recommendations to give me. And it never felt like that like overbearing salesman type shit that people tend to do.
How about you? Maybe you can use supplemental coverage of some kind. Anybody can get hurt. You always think it can't happen to you, and
it felt like 2 people who legitimately cared about getting the right stories to the right people, and they have such a vast knowledge of comic books that it was really easy for them to just do that. As the months have gone on, I've picked up the recommendations that they've given me here and there, and every single time I read through one, I've really enjoyed it. I would go as far to say that this one married couple is better than the entire YouTube algorithm. And right now, during these
trying times,
Tomic RAC is offering some really rad options for some safe ways to get comics. If you request certain books through email, calling, Facebook message, they offer a really smooth and safe curbside drop-off for your books. But also, and I don't think I've ever seen this with comics before, they offer free local delivery. That's right. It's like pizza, but this time, it's comics.
it's not delivery.
Comics.
And to top it all off, they have a $25 quarantine box that comes with 5 entire pounds of mystery back issues. So at the beginning of all of, this, my girlfriend and I ordered one just to see if it would be as good as it sounds, because it's one of those things that seems too good to be true. But let me tell you, it kicks ass. So yeah, that's 5 entire pounds of comic books, 2 of these guys, and then where is he? And ours came with this little dude. He's a little baby Superman. It's a little super baby. It's honestly a really solid service and one of the coolest things happening right now. I realize now that the material I'm using in this video could have probably filled up an entire series. I could have just done like a comic shop series, but here we are. I'm like 75% of the way through this video and I'm not restarting. And the shops that I've mentioned here are only a few of the really great places that we have in the Quad Cities. Funtime Collectibles is also a kick-ass place located over where K's merchandise used to be, and it's practically like a mini Comic-Con in there. It's like a big expo room that's just nothing but boxes of comics. Like, don't go in there unless you know exactly what you're looking for or you have 2 hours to spend. If you're looking for a good mix of sports collectibles and comics, Midwest Collectibles in Davenport is your place. Tim's Corner in Rock Island is a spot I've never been to, but I've heard from people who know their shit that this is a great place run by some really great people. Every event that I've seen them put together just seems to be like a genuinely great thing. They're an awesome part of this community. Finally, in Bettendorf, in this issue is another great place that I've yet to visit, but I've heard great things, and from what I've seen on their page, they seem like an awesome and organized spot. So hopefully this wasn't too long for you. I just feel like right now we need entertainment more than ever. Comics are an amazing way to fill that void, and we're living in an area that it's pretty easy to attain them. There's something for everybody out there. Even if you're not a comic book reader, it's something you might want to check out. Hi, yeah, stop listening to him because his microphone died and he didn't realize it. I just wanted to mention that here at quadcities.com, they allow me to be as honest as I can, and they give me complete creative freedom. So I hope you know that when I give praise to all of these comic shops, I really truly mean it. So until next time, keep on keeping on. Be cool to each other. And, I love you.